Hunt me, somebody hunt me!
In the world of Rick and Morty, life is meaningless. With an infinite number of universes populated by an infinite number of Ricks and Mortys, why would anyone waste their time worrying about trivial matters like continuity? The show's approach to character development, and even its own canon, has often been to laugh at it.
Dead wife?
Yes, now everyone can shut up about it.
Big revelations happen in throwaway lines of dialogue. Rick's refusal to grow is hardwired into his personality. But despite that, there have been some marked changes in our main character since season 1. Let's discuss them, starting with the Smith family patriarch. No, we're not talking about Jerry, Rick Sanchez. Now, character development is kind of relative where Rick is concerned. From the beginning, his nihilism has been explained as a consequence of his intellect. And of course, the infinite, uncaring nature of the universe. And sure, witnessing your wife and child killed by an alternate version of you, and then spending decades chasing a revenge that you never managed to find? That would make anyone turn to the dark side. But rather than having the fundamentals of Rick's character change, the series has frequently chosen to explore his issues and then analyze them, giving the audience more of an insight into how messed up he is. Think of an episode like Pickle Rick, where a standard, wacky Rick and Morty plot device was used as a way of showing how Rick actively avoids personal growth. And in season 5, we got another iteration of this, in the episode Rick-ternal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort. Man, they are really stretching the puns in these titles, huh? In the flashback to the Battle of Bloodridge, we see the fundamental difference between Rick and Birdperson's view of the world. To Birdperson, this is an epic battle with real consequences and personal meaning. For Rick, it's just another set piece, one that he has seen before in other universes, one that he could go and replay if he wanted, like a video game. So again, while Rick isn't changing exactly, the show is finding new ways to shed light on who he is and how he came to be that way. Of course, that's not to say that there have been no changes for the character. Rick-ternal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort shows Rick going to great lengths to save his friend Birdperson, which shows that he is capable of selflessness. In the season 5 finale, we see that a lot of Rick's actions are driven by guilt and rage at how life has treated him. Rick is still an emotionally stunted super genius, of course, a toxic individual who will rebound with 2 crows if his grandson annoys him, but he is more fallible now. Sometimes he even loses. And more importantly, those around him are more likely to judge him for his mistakes. Is it change as such? Debatable, but it certainly keeps him interesting. And what of that poor, loyal grandson of his? Morty's character development has definitely been more pronounced than Rick's over the 5 seasons. The Morty of season 1 was not the most capable individual, naive, clumsy, a slave to his own hormones, and generally far more innocent than his grandfather. And as we reach the end of season 5, Morty has become a pretty capable individual. He's more confident, more knowledgeable, in some ways jaded by his constant brushes with death and chaos. He even cuts his own hand off to escape a fight. His hormones are still very much a problem, as evidenced by the, the monster sperm episode, but he's grown into himself in a few surprising ways, falling in love, fighting for what he believes in, and calling Rick on his BS where necessary. Of course, his relationship with Rick is as toxic and codependent as ever, as we saw when Rick temporarily ditched him for those 2 crows, and the revelations for the season finale could potentially have a negative effect on how Morty sees his grandpa. Though, to be honest, knowing how little the show's writers really care for their own continuity, we wouldn't be surprised if none of this gets discussed in season 6. But however you feel about Rick and Morty's relationship, or the ethics of a teenage boy traveling through dimensions murdering people, the most important thing is that it's funny. And can we really hold the Rick and Morty universe to our own standards of morality and ethics? That, my friends, is a subject for another video perhaps, maybe next summer. Ooh, and up next, one consistent trait that Rick's granddaughter Summer has demonstrated ever since season 1 is that she hates to be underestimated. By the time we get to season 5, it's become very clear that she is more like her grandpa than even he could have predicted, with a dark streak to rival the Rickest Rick. Arguably, Morty became Rick's sidekick by default. As we saw in the season finale, Mortys are effectively bred to be subservient and to always forgive their Ricks no matter how horribly they behave. they're destined to be sidekicks. Summer, on the other hand, has made herself a part of their adventures through sheer force of will. Take that drunken tour of apocalypses she shares with Rick in the episode of Rick Convenient Mort, or the episode, yeah, this is really the title, Gotron Jerry Sis Rick Vangelion, where she takes a leading role in the new family business. Summer had flashes of confidence back in the first season, but as we wave goodbye to season 5, she is both cleverer and more reckless than we might have expected. And worryingly, there's a streak of self-destructiveness in her behavior that also reminds us quite a bit of her grandpa. We're sure that's not going to become a problem though. Evil Summer, anyone? Ah, Beth. Mrs. Smith's role in the show was kind of a thankless one at first. The put-upon sitcom mom who just wants her distant dad to open up to her. But the writers quickly started to introduce little quirks and hints of darkness to Beth's character, suggesting a domineering control freak with a reckless streak, much like her father and daughter. Much of Beth's development has, for better or worse, been tied to her husband Jerry. They separated for a time, but much like Rick and Morty, they never stay apart for long. Every time, Beth and Jerry's damaged and toxic personalities have pulled them back together like magnets. But in season 5, Beth seems to have found a level of peace with the problematic men in her life. She and Jerry have established a kind of equilibrium, and she's willing to call Rick out on his bad behavior without being terrified that he will leave again. She even confronts Morty when his relationship with Planetina goes sour, a genuinely sweet parental moment. Of course, it's not all glowing, healthy developments in the world of Beth. She may be more confident and capable, but she's also been given a window into just how messed up her dad is. How many times has he cloned her and the rest of the family by now? Submit an answer to that, by the way, in the comments. And when it comes to her husband, the episode with the torture demons shows that she still doesn't exactly respect him. As soon as the opportunity arose for Beth to drink beers with a bunch of strangers and mock Jerry, she was all over it. But honestly, can you blame her?
Bow, bow.
You know, feels like it might be time to talk about Jerry. Jerry has been on a pretty incredible journey since season 1. He's gone from being a pompous, quivering coward who everybody mocks to a pompous, quivering coward who everybody constantly mocks. Except within that circular arc, there has actually been some crucial development. Sure, Jerry hasn't really grown a pair by this point. He is still dominated by his wife, subservient to his father-in-law, and pretty clueless when it comes to his kids. His main achievement in the season finale was getting turned into a puddle by accident. But the important thing is that Jerry has come to terms with these facts. He knows that he's a pompous, quivering coward. He knows that he will never usurp Rick as the family patriarch. He knows his wife is the strong one. Let's be honest. If Jerry were to change significantly, not only would the dynamics of the show be fundamentally altered, but more importantly, he wouldn't be funny anymore. He has embraced his destiny as a supporting character, a man doomed to be constantly humiliated, and within that, he has carved out a level of happiness. You could even say contentment. Is that a positive outcome? We would argue that it's not necessarily a negative one. Maybe.
That's a good point. I mean, look at me. I'm easy to make happy, which is why nobody gives a shit if I am.
Of course, character development is dependent on us knowing who we're watching. Are we even still watching the same Rick, Morty, Summer, Beth, and Jerry from back in season 1? Factoring in clones, multiverses, and deaths? Probably not. So this video, much like the universe, was totally meaningless. Thanks for hanging around.